Nita Marie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have something really exciting. We're going to be talking to Honeybee. She's amazing and she's got so many good things to share with you about how she loves sugar daddies and how she used to be an ordained minister in the Christian religion and how she knows the art of seduction. So you're definitely going to want to tune in, but make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can get all the updates of when I have a new video come out. Talk to you soon. Find out. To talk to Honeybee. She's gorgeous, isn't she? So I think she really would be the perfect sugar baby. So that's what you call yourself, right?
Yep.
Is that you are sugar baby because you kind of look for men that are older, that have money.
Yes.
Right? So that's really...
That part's important.
Yeah. That's the definition of a sugar daddy. Now, do they always have to be older?
No. In fact, there's quite a few that are younger.
Okay.
And I've dated younger guys and older guys. I'm in my mid-30s.
Yeah.
So I'm considered, I guess, an older sugar babe, I guess. Most of the women that you'll see on websites like Seeking Arrangements are a lot younger than I am. But there's something to be said about having a little bit more experience in life, because
I know about that.
Yeah, and it's extremely valuable to a lot of these gentlemen because you almost play a role of therapist in throughout all this. Like it really is a genuine relationship. Just when you're in a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship, the attraction generally from the gentleman is that of he's attracted to someone that has a certain aesthetic.
Yeah.
For a sugar babe, I am attracted to wealthy men.
Right.
So it's really like any other sort of dating dynamic. Yeah. Just the superficial initial attraction that the two people have for each other. For me, in my case, is I'm attracted to wealthy. I'm attracted to money. I'm attracted to men that are rich. Yeah. They're attracted to beautiful women.
Just like I might be attracted to someone who has dark hair or someone who has a dad bod.
Exactly. Everybody has your superficial
they have their
attraction.
Thing at first. That's your first initial
That's
attraction.
The initial attraction.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then from there, like it is a genuine relationship. So whatever it is that is your attraction to them, sugar daddy, sugar baby relationships are just that. Now, I will say, like websites like Seeking Arrangements and sugardaddymeet.com are becoming a little bit like there's a big portion of people that are into what we call pay per meets, which is pretty much prostitution, which is what it is, fine. But it is a payment for meeting up with them and having sex. I personally nothing wrong with those that do, like more power to you. But there's different dynamics there. Some of the relationships, there's really kind of three categories of these type of relationships. One is like a pay per meet, which is what I was just describing. That's a little bit more along the realms of getting paid for sex. Then you have an allowance giver, which is someone that just gives you a weekly allowance based on your bills and your expenses. And they are the type of man that takes pride in taking care of their woman. Yeah. That my woman doesn't have to work because I am that kind of man. You pay for
everything. Yeah, he pays for everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you have another dynamic, which is like, hey, like I just live this lifestyle. I'm looking for someone that also desires to live this lifestyle, that I can provide that lifestyle for them, but they're not giving any sort of like actual allowance. It's more like, hey, we're doing these trips together, we're doing these things together, and everybody is still very independent, but you're just dating a wealthier man.
Yeah.
I've had the experience with the latter of the two.
Yeah.
Like either having a weekly allowance or being just treated with gifts and trips and things like that.
What are some of the best gifts and trips that you've received?
I just recently got back from a trip to Vegas, and that included like a helicopter tour around the city and some spa days. It was just a 2-day getaway.
Some spa days, just 2 days, but we had a helicopter and 2 spa days. So.
And some fine dining.
Yeah, we spent a lot of money in those 2 days, I bet.
Yeah. And that's, I desire I enjoy luxury lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like I also enjoy camping sometimes. Like I have the extremes.
Glamping or camping?
Camping.
Really?
My daddy was
camping.
a drill sergeant.
Okay.
I like being one with nature.
Yeah.
That's my witchy side. Like really getting in there, down into nature and feeling the earth, being a part of it, and appreciating what it really has to offer and do. So I do.
You do both.
I do.
Yeah.
I do
That's
both.
Great.
But I look for a certain aspect of my life to be filled by an older, wealthier gentleman.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot to bring to the table with my mind and my beauty and my spirit that I deserve that.
Yes, well, we all deserve that as princesses, right? Well, and I do want to just do a disclaimer. This is not a dating show. We're not saying, Melissa or Honeybee. Honeybee wants to go on a date with you. Well, we're just really diving into what is a sugar daddy, what is a sugar baby, and this has obviously worked well for you. You've had several sugar daddies, and you just came back from this really great Las Vegas trip. What is another gift that one of your sugar daddies has given you?
Money.
Well, yeah,
that's
money,
my favorite.
Right? We love money.
So the most I've ever gotten at just one time was $2,000.
Yeah.
For just like
a lot.
going out and having a good time.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night, not only did we have a fantastic evening together full of conversation and laughter and just genuine connection, human to human connection, where we were able to discuss real life stuff and just be real, raw, and emotionally naked. Like, it's my favorite place to be. With someone let me show you who I am, not just physically, but emotionally. Let's get raw and naked together and in a mental and emotional state.
Physically naked together, but sometimes.
Yes, of course. We're still in a relationship, and just like any other
together.
relationship, right? But absolutely, let's be our real, genuine, true selves, and let's look at each other here. Yeah, I love that. And being able to have that kind of connection with somebody, and then being recognized for the value. That brings to the table. It's beautiful, and I love of course I love getting compensated for that, because it's hey, I recognize the value that you brought here today. Here's $2,000.
Well, and money is just an exchange of energy, really.
Absolutely.
So we have an exchange of energy when you're talking to someone. Money is just an exchange of energy. So we talk about money, but it could also be just that your time's valuable, their time's valuable too. So we want to exchange energy in a valuable way.
Yes.
And we're not talking about prostitution here, but let's say people were to judge you as being that, right? The same type of thing happens when a man takes a woman out on a date, is that he's taking her out on a date. He wants to pay for her meal. But what's the end thing that he wants? He probably wants to have a relationship with her, or wants to see her naked, or wants to, get in bed together. We'll have to bleep that out. This is a PG YouTube show. It's okay. I'm just kidding. wants to get in bed with her, but he's paying for things, right?
Yeah.
As a gentleman thing to do. So it's really no different.
Exactly.
It's just you're saying, this meal is not going to cost $50. It's going to cost $1,000.
Only difference really
is that it's clear.
It's very clear.
Yeah. And
it's
the boundaries are there.
Like,
the boundaries are there.
There's no.
Yeah.
Like, we understand the dynamics of this, and we respect that.
Yeah.
I understand what's expected of me.
Yeah.
And if at any point those lines need to be redefined or parameters, whatever need to be set, then we set them.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing because we're not playing this game where we're pretending it's not what it isn't.
Yes. And I think that's so good because I know for me, when I was dating and I was going out on multiple dates, I would have liked a man to be more upfront. Listen, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm just looking to have a fun night, or I'm looking to have sex or whatever. Or I am looking for a relationship, because that to me helps me determine whether or not I even want to invest my time.
Absolutely.
Like,
that's what I love about it. It's like, let's not waste each other's time here. This is real. Like what matters to me. This is what's important to me. These are my goals, ambitions, and desires. What are yours? And let's see if we're compatible there. Yeah. And if you can provide for me and I can provide for you, we have made very clear parameters of this dynamic. And therefore, that relationship moving forward is very healthy. Very healthy relationship. And if at any point in time you decide that I am not fitting the image of what you desire for your life moving forward, let's be clear about that too. And we are, and I prefer it. Yeah. Because quite honestly, so often we're dating and these guys have these intentions and they're putting up this facade of what they think that I'm looking for or whatever. And I am going out on dates and I'm like trying to figure out, like, am I okay? Am I safe to be myself? Yeah. My real self, or is it going to be rejected? Is it going to be categorized as whatever? But in this particular dynamic, it's like, this is who I am. Yeah. Do you like me? And if you don't, thank you very much for your time. Next. And this is who they are. Do you like me and what I bring to the table? Yeah. And if the answer is yes, then we have a relationship. And the only reason it has a special category on it is because it is transactional, and in the essence that money is a part of it. But that's what I'm attracted to. I'm attracted to.
It'd just be like if I'm attracted to someone who's got big muscles and he takes off his shirt and he doesn't have big muscles, right? Then I'm all of a sudden not attracted to him.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
It's very much just that dynamic. And if for some people it's transactional and they just want to pay for sex. Yeah. Very cool. I'm not your connection. But somebody is. Yeah. Because a lot of women prefer that.
They don't want the relationship. They don't want
the relationship. Yeah. They don't want an emotional connection. They don't want that dynamic and a part of it. Cool. Yeah. Like, fantastic. Your person is there. Somebody that is looking for that for me. And then they can provide this level of security, both financially.
Because you actually want a relationship.
Absolutely.
So this isn't just, I'm going to go on a date with you and you're going to pay me. You are actually looking for a relationship, long-term relationship when you're thinking about this. And one thing you told me is you want it to be monogamous. Yes. So you want him to be monogamous and you're monogamous. Yes. So why is that important to you?
So for me, like, my body is a sacred place. Yeah. And so if I let you enter inside of me and into my holy temple, it is not to be defiled. And I take a defilation to my temple in the sense that you're not respecting it as its holy place of sanctitude. Yeah. When you're having other people, that you're doing that with, while we're also like, it's no back and forth. Yeah. Like, if you're doing that with me, and then you're also doing that with somebody else, and then you're also doing that with somebody else, and then you're coming back to me within that same time frame, like, me personally, like I feel very much the energy of the other person.
Yeah.
I'm very careful about whose energy I let inside my body.
Yeah.
So if I am agreeing for your energy to be inside of me that carries other things with it, then you can't then in turn have those things with other people. For me.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about sex. For me, sex is not a physical thing.
Right.
It's a very spiritual act for me.
Yeah.
And I understand and I respect people that can put it in a category of physical fulfillment. But quite honestly, I can do that by myself.
Right. You don't need a relationship for that.
So if that's what I'm looking for, I got me.
Yeah, I can give myself my own bingo.
I can give myself my own physical experience.
Yeah, but to have the relationship and the spiritual
element of it is important to me. Yeah. And so if I am in a relationship, again, it is for me, just like any other relationship. I actually recently watched a podcast from a lady who is a sex worker and a prostitute. Beautiful podcast. She loves her work. She's amazing at what she does. And she definitely heals people through sex.
Yeah, right. Which is beautiful.
And it is beautiful. Yeah. And I respect her for the work that she does. I can't necessarily carry that many people's energy at once.
Right, right.
And I feel it.
Yeah.
And so if I am entering into a sexual relationship with someone, then I desire for it to be monogamous because of the amount of energy that I feel and I carry with them. Yeah,
yeah. Well, and I know we talked a little bit about you being very in tune with your energy and that you consider yourself more as a witchy woman. But you also were an ordained minister with the Christian faith. And I mean, we could talk for hours about that since we already have. But tell me what happened when you started actually exploring the Christian faith and you were looking into being a minister and why you decided that wasn't for you.
So I started my journey like with it in my early 20s. My goal and my desire was to like know God, be closer to God and be a better Christian. And I had recently went through kind of a life crisis. My husband and my high school sweetheart basically just straight up to me in my children's face said, "I don't love you anymore."
Oh, yeah.
And he walked out on us. And I was like, God, why would you let this happen? Like, I've been like your faithful servant and like, I've been doing everything right. So like I delved into the Bible for truth. And it was the first time I've ever read the actual entire Bible. And I think this is probably true for most people that practice Christianity who can honestly say that they actually read the whole Bible through.
Right.
And so I began reading the Bible.
Yeah.
So
that was another drink.
and in my studies, like I was trying to just be the best quote unquote Christian. And I had this moment where I prayed to God and I said, God, like, how do I know that this is the path?
Yeah.
Everybody, whatever religion you're raised in or your culture is, you believe that is the path.
Yeah.
Because you were told it, you were raised it was your environment, whatever. Right. I said, but I only like believe that it's this and not Hinduism or Islam or Judaism or whatever, because I was raised to believe this way. And I said, you know what? Remove everything from me. This is my prayer. Remove all of these cultural lenses. Remove my background and help me just see truth. And I began reading the Bible. And as I began reading and studying and going through this process, because I was going to become a minister, right? I noticed that one, there was a lot of gaps. Yeah. If you ever read the Bible through, you will see that there is copious amounts of just gaps where it just jumps from one thing to the other. Yeah. And you're like, whoa, how did we get here? Yeah. So you can tell something is missing. Cut out. Yeah. And so I began researching that. And I started seeing like this book was taken out by Constantine, and I started studying like when Christianity became a religion, which was 500 years after the death of Christ, under Constantine's rule with the Act of Nicaea. 6 bishops got together and they canonized the Bible, and they decided what would be a part of it and what wouldn't. Now, mind you, this was the first development of a patriarchy. Okay, so prior to this, like even like the Nazarene women, like Jesus was of Nazareth, right? The Nazarene women were the business people. They were the one that handled the money. They did all the business development. They handled the transactions. Men were for war and hunting. Women were for business. And they were the ones that handled those types of things. Well, with the development of the patriarchy, they were like, we got to take some of this woman crap out. That shows a lot of places of empowerment. One of the biggest stories that was removed from the Bible was the story of Lilith, the first woman.
Right, I remember talking to you about that.
Eve.
Right, let's talk about that for a little bit, because a lot of people don't even know who the book of, or who Lilith was, and what the book of Lilith is. So I would suggest that you Google it, because there's actually... It's interesting because there's the part of Lilith that is looked at as being a demon woman. And then there's the part of Lilith that really does state she was the first wife of Adam. And so share a little bit about that real quick.
I would love to.
I know. Yeah.
So the demonic personification of her, again, became a personification and a character story and lore because of the patriarchy. So let's back up. So the story originally was that God created man and woman out of dirt and breathed the breath of life into them out of the clay of the earth. And Lilith refused to succumb to Adam as not, like, she was like, no, I'm your equal. Yeah. We are both here. And she was like, no, I'm not going to just like submit to you as if you're my boss here. There's no hierarchy. Right. And so she left Adam. And as a result, she was forced to leave behind her children. So the lore comes into play when they say, well, she came as a point of revenge. She came back and she stole Adam's seed in the night. So either it was a wet dream, she used his semen or whatever, and to impregnate herself to have her own children. And then from there, she became the mother of her own set of children. So some people say that those children are different from the children of Eve, and that's why, like, when there was procreation that happened later on, it wasn't just brother and sister. It was like the children of Lilith and the children of Adam. Some stories say that those children were the demons. Like, she's the mother of vampires.
Right, the mother of demons. The mother of hell or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. But that was really like a spin on the story that happened much, much later because of the desire of, like, to suppress any woman that wouldn't submit to the patriarchy. Right.
So going back to Lilith and being looked at as a demon, she could have seduced Adam to get his children. Do you think that that could be something that has also been twisted as being evil, is kind of the art of seduction?
Absolutely. There's so much that has become demonized under the patriarchy. Right. Like, this was not, I cannot emphasize this enough. Yeah. Like, when we go back to, like, a lot of the original texts, like, these constructs of the hierarchy between men and women didn't exist. Right. In fact, in Hebrew culture, all the lineage was tracked through the women. Like, even today, like, you're Jewish if your mother is Jewish. Right. It has nothing to do with your father. Like, because that's how, like, the women held such a powerful role. It was literally under the Greek and Roman Empire influence into that culture that started changing and shifting the story. Men and women were very much seen as equals. Right. Just holding different roles, but there was not this, like, the man is the head and then the woman sits under him. And then that happened under Constantine's role. We have to remember that, like, even, like, a lot of the New Testament was written after the death of the Christ. Right. So when we talk about Jesus or Yeshua, and, like, his preachings, like, even his story, his original story was removed. Like, the story of Mary, who, like, how she came into being. Her mother was barren. Like, this story was taken out of the Bible under the Act of Nicaea. But her mother was barren, prayed to God to be able to have children. God came down, had a divine interception with him and with Anne. Her mother's name was Anne in the English translation of the Bible, which that's a whole nother issue. Right. But then she was able to finally conceive. She got pregnant with Mary. Mary, at the age of 2, was then sent to serve into the temple of the Lord.
Right.
And she served into the temple of the Lord until 12. And when the priest then had Joseph, who was much older, she was 12 years old. So Joseph, a very much older man, already had children. Joseph comes into the temple and says, hey, like, my kids are grown. Like, I'm too old for this child. And they were like, you are to take her and care for her and protect her. And so she then went with Joseph. And then she was serving the temple, and Joseph never laid with her, never did anything, because he looked at her as this young little lady.
Yeah, perfect Virgin Mary.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was not to touch her.
Right.
So then she, this was at the age of 12.
Right.
Then she was impregnated by God, or the Holy Spirit impregnated her. The story of even the birth of the Christ through her, like, was taken out. So we don't even know how that happened. Like, there's a whole thing where she was looking for a midwife. The midwife knew there was a cloud over the cave in which she was giving birth. The midwife was like, saw this light coming from her womb and was like, I am witnessing a miracle here. And she went back to go tell the priestess, like, she is truly a virgin giving birth to a baby. The light of God is upon her, and this child is being born without ruining her virginity. Like, it almost is like, describes it as teleportation of like a flash of light. The baby leaves the stomach and then is in her arms.
Wow.
And then,
so wait, I have to pause right there. So you do believe in immaculate conception? That just for you personally, do you believe in immaculate conception? This is the story that was taken out.
This is the story that was taken out. Like, I don't necessarily like. So I believe a lot of things. Like, I don't. So there's belief and then there's knowledge for me.
Right.
So some things for me is like, this is a truth and I know it. Do I believe that that could have happened? Absolutely. Do I know it? I don't know. I don't know a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like, now when I look at that story and I read it, a lot of things are also in my mind. Like, as I began to study, going back to that coin reference of seeing the same thing from a different perspective, became an understanding of a bigger picture. Of possible metaphor. Could be a physical manifestation of a greater understanding. So I think of a lot of things as is above, so is below. So it's like, was this a metaphor? Did this actually happen? I don't know.
But it is. It was in the Bible.
It was actually.
And why was it taken out? That's what I want to know.
Absolutely. Yeah, so a lot of this stuff was taken out. A lot of stories were taken out that gave women any position of power.
Right.
Any position of understanding alchemy and magic and like the things that were empowering.
Right.
And when I say power and empowering, like, I mean that in every sense of the word.
Right.
Not just like political power, which could be a part of it, but like actual power, like understanding the energy of creation. And women specifically are particularly magical, so to speak.
Yeah.
In that sense, because we can actually create. We're considered like Leonardo da Vinci's art, where he has this man and his arms are spread out, and he has squares, he has circles around us. Like, masculine energy is considered very like angular and square, and feminine energy is very creative and circular. Right. And so it is the combination of the two that creates what we call the Merkaba, or like the understanding of all these different energetic dimensions that sit together and allow us to open up the portal of our true selves, which is like this divine connection of manifestation.
So going back to what we were talking about, Jesus turning water into wine, is that was a very important part of the Bible. Also, when he turned one fish into thousands of fish, right? It is, in what you said to me, a sense of alchemy that he created magic.
Absolutely.
It was magic. He turned, this water, into this wine. Right. And it was magic. And Jesus knew the art of magic. Absolutely. He knew the art of alchemy. He walked on water.
He raised the dead. He practiced necromancy, crystal magic, alchemy, like all these different energetic magics. Now, we give that term because we've demonized it in our culture. And again, this goes back to the patriarchy. Yeah. Because let's say I'm a person in power. Yeah. Right? I'm Constantine. And this dude has gone around and taught people their power. Yeah. I am no longer powerful if everybody understands their power. So I now have to demonize certain behaviors.
Right.
And practices.
Right.
And say, this is wrong.
Right. Because you're not powerful.
Because you're not supposed to be. So give up your power. Mm-hmm. And we'll put that power in the hands of this existential deity over here. Mm-hmm. That is outside of you and separate from you. And like when you want him to do something, call upon your master to do it for you. Instead of becoming one with that.
Yes.
And being it. So what happened was they began blending things. They began taking certain scriptures and texts out, like the story of Solomon, which Jesus references him. Like when Jesus is in the city and he's casting out demons, he's healing people. Yeah. And he's practicing magic openly. Right. And the Pharisees then say to him, is like, you do these things in the name of Beelzebub. And he says, I tell you that I am even greater than that of Solomon. Mm-hmm. He's referencing something that is not in the Bible today. Mm-hmm. So in order to figure out that reference point, you have to do some research. Mm-hmm. Because Solomon, I highly encourage you to Google Solomon's magic. It was literally the story of Aladdin, like the Disney story of Aladdin. It's based on Solomon's magic, the true story of Solomon that was taken out of the Bible. It's actually still a part of the Quran, but it was taken out of our modern day Bible. And remember, before this, like that was all one culture. Mm-hmm. The Jews and Muslims, that separation of that culture came from Hagar's children versus Rachel. And now the wine is in my system.
It's okay. We'll just get that part. Just flip that out.
But he was married and like he had children with Hagar, and so like the sons from that was like one was Ishmael, one was Isaiah. That was from his firstborn son, which was from his concubine, and then his secondborn son, which was the firstborn of his wife. Yeah. Right? That's where the split between the two religions happened. So prior to that, all the texts were the same. Then it just became a following of which lineage, and those were the offspring. That's the difference between Islam and Judaism and why the conflict.
Right. Yeah.
Because like, well, we are the children, and then we are the children of the firstborn of Abraham. Well, we are the children of the first legitimate born of Abraham. Yeah. And that's where like the difference between Islam and Judaism comes into play. But any of the stories prior to that, like the law of Moses, the law of the Bible, are all kind of the same. Solomon's story, all of them are the same. And so I highly recommend reading the Quran. Yeah. Because it will fill in the gaps of things that were taken out during the Act of Nicaea under Constantine. You're going to be like, oh, this is the full picture. Right. Because up until that point, all the sacred text from the culture were the same. Right. So anyway, that was a tangent. But
no, that's okay.
Understanding
we're okay with tangents.
Understanding like these practices today, they've been demonized, and they say this is witchcraft. But like we can read stories in the Bible of certain crystals that were put onto the breastplates, right, for protection, right, put into the temple that Solomon built as a sacred place for the holy place because of the energies that they created, right. And the vibrations that they brought, which created a spiritual portal. Exactly. Yeah. And then you have the stories of Moses separating the water. Right. The water turning into blood. Like, again, practices of alchemy and matter manipulation.
So I do want to, well, I'll let you finish, but I want you to go into part of why people might have tried to control this is because they didn't want people maybe using it for bad. I mean, let's give people the benefit of the doubt, right? We didn't want people using it for bad, using it to hurt people. Some people did do that. But can you share the analogy that you gave me about the cell in the body? Because that was so powerful to me. And anyone who practices real witchcraft understands that anything you do to someone else does come back to you tenfold. Absolutely. So there would be no reason for you to do something bad to somebody else.
And so like people, so it wasn't necessarily, I don't think that for the most part, the controlling of this magic and understanding of alchemy and like energies and things like that was for anything less than like they truly didn't understand the whole picture.
Right.
And so they wanted to control the power.
Because they were ignorant and they were scared
and
of what this was.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
To meet a person that with benevolent intent is able to multiply matter within their hands, feeding the fish.
I mean, it's scary. I mean, if we don't know anything about it and someone starts doing this, it's scary.
It's alchemy, water into wine.
Yeah.
A levitation, being able to walk against gravity's pull. Right. So a lot of that happened there. Now, when you really understand magic and you understand what it really is an understanding of self and that role within the body. So, and when I say within the body, like, I mean godness. Like, a lot of us separate the idea of what is God. And they say, God is this thing outside of me looking down and controlling destiny. Yeah. And like everything is in place, which means then in turn we really genuinely have no free will. Like that's what you're saying if you agree to that concept. But let's just say that we look at myself and my body, my physical body is a representation of what God is. So like I'm God now for this demonstration. Goddess. My physical body represents Yahweh, the God. Absolute godness, right? And so what is that? That's the everything. Yeah. Right? So as an analogy, like within my body, it's made up of many, many things. It's made up of muscle tissue, blood cells. It's made up of neurons. Yeah. Skin cells, like all these different cells that each work within their own system that then creates my physical form. So if we were to take this analogy and say, okay, my physical body then represents universe. Okay. So this one in particular blood cell, which is one of the cells within my body is a blood cell. Yeah. And that might be Melissa having this focused intent and experience of the world in this place. Melissa, aka Honeybee. Right? Yeah. And another one of these blood cells is Mama Nita. Another one of these blood cells is like Kyle and Steven and Jake and whatever, like all these other people in the world, right? All make up these different blood cells. And then like maybe like the neurons are like all the trees. And the plasma that surrounds the blood cells is the air that we're breathing, right? So each of those things make up collectively, they play their role and they make up collectively the entire body. Now, if I were to say that within that specific role, my purpose in life is to bring oxygen from the lungs to the heart and to the brain and then back again and recycle that. And that is how I serve God, because I'm a blood cell and I don't see that I'm a part of it. I see God as like giving me my manifest destiny and my purpose, and that's my role. The moment that I then realize that I'm actually God too, just in this very specific focused presence of God. I'm a part microcosm of God. Yes. And I am a part of the collective. Yeah. When my consciousness realizes that and I become aware of that, then I can send signals to the body. And this is what we call spell casting. This is what we call manifesting or whatever. Intention focused intention. We realize that like I, within the body of the God, I am God, but I'm also this individual focused perspective of God. But I am a part of Godness, but just in this very particular way. And it is in the collective of everything that is God, whatever we call that. But this particular moment, when I realize that, I can then say, you know what? Send a signal, blood cell, but I need glucose. So then it affects the neurons within the tongue that creates a taste and a desire for something sweet. And it says like, hey, the body is bleeding here. I'm sending a signal to create this clot, to clog the blood. Now my intentional focus, any damage, I don't desire harm to neuron. Right. I don't desire harm to other blood cell because harm to them is harm to me because it's all one body. Right. So when you really understand that and you become one with what is, the isness, the Yahweh, the he, she, it of the universe, the universal I am. And you become the I am, and you are part of the I am within your place.
Symbiotic. You're symbiotic.
You become
you
absolutely.
all work together.
Everything
harmony.
works. All things work together for the good. And that is literally what happens. So you can absolutely in spirit, like, experience the magic. You can absolutely experience the manifestation of desire to, like, have the things that you want, but it no longer becomes this place of, like, taking from someone else to have something that you want. Lack no longer exists.
Right.
It only becomes a place of abundance because the body can produce more blood cells. The body can produce and rebuild the neurons. The body can. It's the isness, and it becomes a tap into an infinite place, but it's also a symbiotic relationship of the entire body. And now I am God. Yes, it is separate than me, but it's also not.
Right.
And that, like the coin reference that we made earlier, was what developed from that understanding, like each different perspective of seeing that ring and seeing the full circle. If you haven't seen it, go look at the TikTok.
Yes. Go look at the TikTok on the Witch Project.
Then you see, like, the whole picture of everything that is to play. And one of the things that becomes absolutely a relief, and maybe you have to go through the journey to get here, but, like, so much in the beginning is like study, learn more. I need to understand. I need to learn more. I need to learn more. But the more of it, like, once you get the big picture, I don't need every little slice of the pie filled in. I understand the big picture. So now I operate from here. I have with this gestalt understanding of isness, of the I am, and the I am.
The I am and the I am.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You know, this has been such a deep conversation, and I think it's so ironic that we started with sugar daddies. So we started with, I'm looking for a sugar daddy, but really sugar daddies are looking for you because you have a lot to offer. So this is our $1 million baby right here. So it was so awesome to talk to you, from, like, sugar daddy to religion to witchcraft to I am, all of that. It was just so enlightening, and I've loved getting to know you over these last
Thank you.
Thank
you for the opportunity to speak and share, and also, like, learn and be a part of your perspective in this bigger piece of the puzzle.
Yes, I'm so grateful.
Yes, me too, so much.